Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Chronic Visibility, where we celebrate the survivor. Today, we are talking with another survivor of lupus, Dr. Rita Lewis, who is going to be talking with us a little bit about her experience, diagnoses, her challenges that she suffered trying to migrate through the disease. And she's also going to share with us her secrets on how she's overcome illness and is leading a productive life. Welcome to the show, Dr. Lewis.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, to begin with, let's start with talking a little bit about when you got your diagnosis. How is it that you first realized that something was going on and that you were needing doctor's care?
Wow. Well, what happened was a little bit about me. I used to run track in Trinidad. And so I would always try to keep active. I'll try to exercise, even though not continuously, intermittently. And so one day I found that I didn't have any appetite. I would eat, but I wouldn't eat a lot, which is unusual because I think I have a fairly healthy appetite.
Right.
And I like roti. And I could eat a whole roti. And this day I could barely get through a quarter of a roti, and it just didn't make sense to me. And I'm like, this don't make any sense. I was working as a tutor at Manhattan Community College. This is back in '92. And I would get there and I started having shortness of breath. I'm sitting down and all of a sudden I'm like, this isn't right.
Right.
You know? And then the gentleman I was seeing at the time realized that I had a fever. He said, "You're hot." I'm like, "Yeah, really? I didn't know that." So he started giving me alcohol baths because I was really hot. And then I realized that my lymph nodes were swollen because I'm always,
So you were self-examining.
I'm always, you
I'm
know,
glad to know I'm
something.
not the only person.
Yeah, something's wrong. You know, what's that? What's that?
Right.
And then I'll get home and I'll sleep and I'll get up and I'll go to work because I need to pay my rent.
Right.
And I lived in Harlem. I had to go to Manhattan Community College. So I'll get up every morning, I'll go to work. And I said, well, something's wrong. So I called the doctor. Called my doctor's office. And I was like, I need to make an appointment because I'm not feeling well. Something's wrong. Oh, you got to wait 2 weeks or so before we can give you an appointment. I said, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
But things got worse from then. So I was like, okay, I'm going to, because I was at school, I was going to City College, working on my bachelor's degree. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go to see the nurse in school because there's a nurse on campus for student health, right? I go to see the nurse that day. It was a snowstorm. CUNY never closes. CUNY never closed.
Right.
They closed the school at 4 o'clock
Now
that day.
They close all the time, yeah.
Right? No, but they wait till everybody's finished their class, right?
Right.
So they never really close.
Right, exactly.
And I went to see the nurse, took my blood. She said, okay, you'll come and see the physician assistant next week. They took a blood sample. The blood sample didn't get picked up. It was a snowstorm, school closed. So I go back the next week to find out what's going on. Oh, they didn't take the blood. All right, see the PA. The PA says, all right, we need you to see the doctor. Now, all this time, I'm going to work.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had a day when the guy who was the super of the apartment building will check in on me because I don't lock my door anymore. My door is unlocked. I'm the first apartment as you come in, and the outer door doesn't lock. And I leave my door unlocked because I find that I'll sit on the couch and I breathe and I know I'm not sure I'm going to exhale to take another breath.
Wow.
And I was like, every time I inhale, I would see, you know, these tarot cards of death?
Yes.
I would see this picture.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
like, I don't know if I'm going to be around
So
for another inhale,
Right.
right? So folks will check so the super will check in on me. And I'll drive to school. I'll get on the train and I'll see lupus, lupus, lupus. I'm like, what the heck? Everywhere I go, I would see lupus, lupus, lupus all the way. And I didn't know what it was. I was like, what? And I'll try to read it.
Right.
But I'm still going to work. I'm coming back. I'm going to work every day. Still have a fever.
So
Losing weight.
You were going to work every single day.
Every day. Until the doctor put me in hospital.
Ah, so you went back to the
No,
campus doctor?
So they told me I had to go to the doctor. The doctor is affiliated to the school, was affiliated to Harlem Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a Dr. Kim Woods. So I went, took my blood test, and I had an umbrella. You know those big umbrellas? It weighed a ton. I would drag this thing behind me. And finally got the blood test. He sits me down. He says, well, I think we're going to have to hospitalize you. And I just started to cry.
Oh.
This was it. I'm like, no. It's the 23rd of December. It's the last day of school. I got to go pay my rent. I got to get my check. I got to pay my rent. No, you can't put me in the hospital. He's like, listen, I got to put you in the hospital. I said, okay, let me make a deal with you. Let me go home and get some clothes, and I'll come back.
He didn't make the deal.
Oh, yes, he did.
He did? He
He must have thought I wasn't going to come back. I said, no, I'll come back. I promise I'll come back. But because I've never been in the hospital,
Right.
even though my grandmother was a nurse, right?
Right.
I've never been in the hospital. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to tell my father that I'm in the hospital? I've got my family in the Caribbean.
Right. So you were here alone?
Yeah, I was here.
Oh boy. So that's another layer to the story. Yes.
Okay. And I wanted to graduate that semester and all
Right.
kinds of stuff. So I said, all right. So I went to the hospital. They took me up there and they did a spinal tap. They did a test, they did a kidney biopsy. So he comes to me and he says, 60% you have lupus, 40% you have something else. We will go with the 60% that you have lupus. Okay, whatever, you know. And that was after Christmas because I went in on the 23rd of December. I came out sometime after January. I think I spent mostly 3
You were in
months
the
with
hospital
her.
for 3 months.
I was there for a while. And okay, I came back. And I'm thinking, listen, I got things to do. You know, I can't. But while I was in the hospital, I read the whole book of Job.
That's the book to read. That is definitely the book to read.
I would read and fall asleep and read and fall asleep
Because
and
if
read.
anybody went through it, Job did.
I've never been able to settle down and read. But I was in a church. I was at Macedonia Baptist Church at the time. I sang in the choir. I was on the nurses unit, you know. So some of the members of the church, you know, especially Mrs. Petrie, she's deceased now. She'll come and see me. And a couple of the deacons, Deacon Campbell and Deacon Akins, I think. Deacon Akins has passed, I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. But anyway, they would come and see me. They'll help me out. And I sat and read the whole book of Job. And then one day I was on my bed, lying down, you know, and I felt somebody sit on my bed. I'm like, but wait a minute, you're not supposed to sit on a patient's bed. At least this is what all the nurses in my family that I'm around, right?
No, yeah.
You don't sit on a patient's bed. So I'm like, who's this on my bed? And I know I'm not sleeping, right? So then whoever or whatever got up, so you could feel the pressure get off the bed. They come to the front and they sit down, and I'm like,
Who's this keeps sitting on my bed?
but there's nobody there.
No one there.
But I feel the pressure on the bed. And who want to call me crazy, that's because you haven't experienced it. So feel the pressure on the bed. And I'm like, I'm looking, but there's nobody there. Because I wasn't asleep, right? And then I heard this. It's like you hear the noise in the background, like your refrigerator will run all day.
Right.
And then I hear this voice says, you're going to be okay. That's all I needed. I took that and ran. I'm like, I'm going to be fine. So I finally got out of the hospital, and I have to work because I got to pay my rent.
Right.
But I don't have, I'm now 190 pounds. I went to weighing 145, 150. I came out weighing 190 pounds. I swole up. Water.
So they didn't give you anything?
Water retention. I would go to the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm swollen. They have edema and they'll press. Oh, you have edema. Yeah, right, but, you know.
Right. Yes, I have edema. Thank you. I know that.
And one of the times I had to go to the clinics, I had some young doctors there. They were like, oh, you have to take cyclosporin because I think they give you, oh, you have to take this. If you don't take it, you will die. And I was like,
right.
I got enough going on. I don't need you to tell me I'm going to die if I don't take a medicine. So time went on, and I went and I got a one-shot deal because I'm a foreigner, right?
Right.
I'm a foreigner. I'm out of status. You know, my student visa has expired, and you don't get any help, right?
No, no, you do not. You do not.
So I went and I got, by the grace of God, I got a one-shot deal to help pay some of my rent.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, my landlord died.
Wow.
And his son takes over. And, you know, the landlord was an older guy, old school. He didn't hassle you about anything, you know. Old man Grace. He used to have these buildings. He had his buildings up on 100 on Convent Avenue. So his son takes over.
I bet he changed.
His son take over. It was a whole different ballgame.
Sure. Yes, that's exactly right.
And, you know, Harlem was changing now.
Right.
We have a new group of people coming in.
Right.
Rents is going up. It's a nice little cute apartment I had, you know. Although the flooring was terrible. You lift the wood and you lift the wood on the floor and it's just dirt. But I never complained.
Right.
And so I had to leave there. And one of the guys in the church helped me get a place. He was superb at the building, not too far. So he helped me get this place. And I moved into this burnt out apartment. Wow. So just the room that I slept in was decent. The rest of the apartment was burnt out. The bathroom kind of worked. So I had enough to get a bath. And
my goodness. So
I ate crackers.
I have to stop you there. So coming, you know, trying to recover, this is what you had to recover in these sort of conditions.
Yeah, but I was fortunate.
That's challenging. Yes.
I was fortunate because before that, when I got back to from the hospital and I went back into my apartment because my family came up. My sister came up. One day I opened my eyes. My elder sister was standing at the foot of the bed because her friend had called. And my cousin is a doctor, and one of his friends was doing kidney fellowship at Harlem Hospital. So he called my cousin, you know, my cousin called, so he will call to find out. So, yes, professional courtesy. But once I left the hospital, I went back, and one of my friends from church, I stayed with her for about 2 weeks, but I was like, you know, I don't want to stay in somebody's house. I want to go back because I can do for myself. So I went back to my apartment, and one of my friends at the time, who was a nutritionist herbologist, he's now a qualified medical MD, so Dr. David Miller. Okay. He I got his box in the mail that had supplements that I never even knew existed. And he sent a list of what they were and how to take them and when to take them. So I took almost every single supplement this young man sent to me.
So what can you give us an example of what, maybe a couple of them? No, yeah. It's a long time ago.
It was, it was, and I didn't know them. So it was supplements to help cell membrane integrity. It was all kind of, things I never knew existed because this is a whole different world.
Right.
A herbologist, nutritionist, what is that?
What is this, right?
So this is how he made his living. This young man is a walking encyclopedia. You ask him a question, he rattles up.
Where is he?
He actually works in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Or somewhere on Fillmore.
Okay, he has his own practice.
He works with another doctor there, and you could find him, is it Time Store? It's on West 4th Street. There is a health store.
On West 4th Street.
Yeah, when you get off and you go back uptown,
Right.
you pass, I think it's like a bagel place. It's been there for a long time.
And that is that's where you
And
can
you
find
can
it.
find him there. He has an office. And I went and see him and Dr. Miller, David Miller. And he is good.
So when you started taking the supplements,
I didn't tell my doctors.
you of course you didn't tell your doctors.
They had me on prednisone and another another chemotherapy thing. And I took these medications. I drank a pint of water just to take the medicine every day. Every time I sat down on that table, I drank.
You know, this is a very common thread, and I find when I talk with people, and unfortunately, I find that when you start to ignore the when you start to really kind of take some of what they say with, you know, you investigate, you read, you find out what's in these medicines, and then you make your decisions.
But sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's just what we call instincts.
Mm-hmm. They're telling you something that is not.
Old folks say it's your guardian angel. You know,
right,
Christianity will tell you it's the Holy Spirit.
Right. Yes,
right?
Yes.
That, you know, something tells you, you hear that voice. And
that's correct.
And at some point in time, you have to listen to it. Right? So that was what happened at that point.
And how long did it take you then to get where you felt normal? If you want to say that word, use that word, or you felt...
Or more like when I felt whole,
right.
Because there was always this feeling that there was this empty space. Like I felt the outer part of me, but the inner part of me felt empty. Mm-hmm. I didn't really check because I went to a lupus support group by Lupus Foundation. They
mm-hmm.
have... And I went to that meeting. I was like, I'm not going back because
why? I'm curious.
Because
why.
I left there feeling so depressed.
Yes. Now this is something that I have experienced myself. That I used to really participate in, you know, groups online even and things like that. But I found that, and that's part of the reason why I started this whole thing, is because I find that everyone is just, woe is me. This is what's happening to me. You know, I feel like you have to get it out, but, you know, I just don't feel that it's a positive. You need positive energy to help you.
One young lady there said it took her 3 years to get her life back. And I was like, I'll be damned if I'm going to take 3 years to get my life back. You know, no, this isn't happening. So, and then there, even at the meeting, they were saying women who have been diagnosed with lupus could still have babies, and they could this, and okay, fine. But I felt that it wasn't as encouraging to me.
Right. It works for some people, but it didn't work for me either. So anyway, go on. I wanted to interject there because I found it to be the same. We're speaking the same language there. I didn't really feel that I walked out feeling ready to conquer the world, and that I was doing better with that, you know, using my own devices. You know.
Yeah, I walked out saying no, this isn't. No, but I don't think it took me 3 years because I stayed out of school. I didn't attend classes. I withdrew that semester, and I went and I got a job, and I worked, as I say, I kept going to church because church has been the mainstay of my life. That is my support system. You know, I go to church, and when I was still ill and I couldn't go to church, they came to me. Somebody from the church turned up, you know, just to say hello. Right. You know, we're still here. We haven't forgotten you. But church has been what has kept me through all of this. And after I believe God said to me, "You're going to be okay," I was fine. You know, I didn't let anything bother me. I went out and I did what it is I felt I needed to do so I can pay my rent and have food on the table. And so I went back to school. I went and got a job. I was working full time. I would come home at 4 o'clock in this burnt out apartment, walk up 5 flights.
Oh my God. The burnt out apartment is a lot for me to handle.
get on my bed, and by 4:30 I'll go to sleep. And I would sleep right through the night until morning.
How long did you do that?
Maybe about.
It's estimate.
I was at that time, you don't keep track of time. I just lived one day at a time.
Right.
I couldn't tell you what date it was. I just knew I had to get up and go to work. I had to come back and go to sleep. Get up and go to work. Come back and go to sleep, and that was my life, And I think it probably might have been for a month or so, and then they got me into another apartment.
They got you into
they took me over the roof to another apartment. But it was a favor, and I would say, thank God, I wasn't literally on the street.
Exactly.
I had a roof over my head. I was warm. I wasn't out. I could lock the door. They ran a light so I could have light.
They had to run a light down for you? Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Every time I think about my experience when everything just fell apart for me, I talk to somebody like you, and I'm just like, whatever I went through is just nothing. And that's why it really doesn't pay to harbor and dwell on the negative, because there is always someone else.
But you know what? There's always a positive.
There's always, yes.
There's always a positive. You have to find it,
So tell me then, what is the positive that you found in this whole crazy?
I could get up every morning, go to work, and come back home.
So you had enough strength to get up and go to work. Amazing, yes. That's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah, but when I came home, I crashed.
So going to work is an accomplishment.
Get up and go.
It's something that
because otherwise you stay in the bed.
Yes, that's exactly it.
You stay in the bed.
Right.
Because you're weak. And I say weak because when I was in the hospital, to pick up the phone weighed a ton. I couldn't brush my teeth.
When I talked to you on the phone a few months ago, I refused to try to. I really got to that point because I just ignored my body and refused to listen to it. I did not want to stop and rest. I had too many things, going on. I needed to get to work, and in essence, I made my situation a little worse than if I had maybe taken a couple of days to try to relax beforehand. But sometimes
we ignore it because we need to keep going.
Right.
Because if we stop and take it, all of a sudden everything comes down, and you don't want to open that door because a lot of it is mental. I find for the battle against lupus, a lot of it is a mental battle. Because if you sit and you allow you say, okay, yes, I feel tired. I tell people I could feel every cell in my body tired when I am in a flare. Every single cell. I can tell you where they are, and I can tell you how tired they are. Because you're that aware of how tired you are. But if you sit sometimes and you let it, you're not going to get up and move. And there are times when you really literally cannot get up and move. And all you have to do is just sit there or lie in the bed and let somebody feed you because you don't have the strength to raise your hand. A spoon is too much. You don't have the strength to chew because chewing this food, you just don't have the strength to do it. And I think a lot of people don't appreciate that, because you look at someone who's been diagnosed with lupus and they don't look sick until one day they don't appear at work and you have to go visit them in the hospital.
One final question before we close, and that is, I think you've already answered it though, but that is really for people out there who are not well. What would be your one bit of advice if you would give someone saying, or they're newly diagnosed with lupus, someone who just found out that they have it, what would you tell them should be the first things that they do?
Well, what I did, I went vegetarian. Because cold turkey. I mean, I was never a meat eater.
Right.
I was never one to eat beef. I know when I eat beef, I feel it slows all the blood in my system. I can feel everything slows down. My brain doesn't work as well. So I don't eat beef.
Sugar does that to me too, but I haven't been able to.
I have a sugar factor. I like sugar.
Yeah, sugar. When I eat too much of it, I can feel what it's doing to my body, but I can't. I'll work on that.
Yeah, so I don't eat meat. I don't eat chicken. I don't eat pork. I don't eat beef. I don't eat shrimp. I don't eat crab. Don't eat lobster. But they told me I need my omegas, so I'll eat salmon. I'll eat fish, right? And I like McDonald's fish. I'm sorry.
You do?
I like McDonald's fish.
We'll
no cheese, no tartar sauce. No cheese, no tartar sauce. Mm-hmm. Right? I take it plain and French fries because I like salt. But I'd eat salmon, and I would eat beans every now and again because my diet is terrible. Even though people say, "Oh, you're vegetarian because I don't eat meat," but I am picky about the vegetables I eat. Mm-hmm. So I changed certain things in my life. Right? Meat was one. I got rid of it. Okay. There for a time there, I drink herb tea. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't drink soda. Mm-hmm. Now I've started drinking more soda. They tell me not to drink soda because of my kidneys, mm-hmm. but I drink a little more soda because I like the sugar, and I guess when my blood pressure is low, it picks me up. I guess so. But I change what I eat, and I would tell folks, be very conscious of how much energy you actually have in your body. Because once you figure out how much energy you actually have stored up available for you to do other things, to do physical things, I mean, apart from just being able to breathe and move, but to be able to do other things, then you will know just how much activity you can do, and you wouldn't feel like you're wearing yourself out. So you have to get aware as to how much energy you have. I try to pay attention to
Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate your coming here and talking with the audience.
Thank you for having me.
And we will be back next time with another episode of Chronic Visibility. Thank you for watching, and take care.